Happening now, it's the final day of school for many districts across central New York. Elmwood Elementary in Syracuse closed its doors for good, and 2 new stores are now opened at Carousel Center as part of the expansion at the mall. Pete.
Happening now, it's hot and humid. Heat index is high as 100 this afternoon. We cool things off a touch Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but it's still warm. Another update in 1 hour.
Oh, now I see me. I can't see the presser. Going hot. I'm Lisa Spitz with this special report happening right now. School officials in Greece are holding a news conference with police regarding the investigation of students bullying a school bus monitor. The encounter was taped and put on YouTube. It has been viewed by millions of people and has caused an outrage. Let's listen in to what officials are saying about new developments today. And right now we are just waiting for this press conference to get underway live in Greece, New York. School officials there are going to be talking about that video. It has gone viral. Millions and millions of people have seen it. It is students taunting and just saying really horrible things to this 68-year-old bus monitor. And she held her composure. She was on the Today Show today. It is something that really everybody's talking about. We've been getting so many comments, not only on our Facebook page, but our website. Let's listen in right now. It appears that this press conference is just about to start. This man seems to be waiting. Oh, here he goes right now. Let's listen in.
Well, good afternoon. My name is John Allberger, supervisor of the town of Greece. And first of all, I'd like to read this prepared statement that we have from the town. The town of Greece offices have been inundated with phone calls and emails regarding this incident aboard a Greece Central School District bus. We have received phone calls from not only our own concerned residents, but also residents from across the great state and nation. We, too, are outraged by the behavior of this group of students and want to emphasize that the actions of a few do not reflect our community as a whole. The town of Greece is a community of nearly 100,000 of people who are kind, respectful neighbors, and hardworking people. Greece Central School District is one of 3 districts which serve our community. All 3 districts have extraordinary students who are doing great things inside and outside their classroom on a daily basis. The Greece Central School District, our own Greece Police Department are working together to obtain evidence and review all the information so that the appropriate action will be taken in this dreadful incident. The Greece Police Department, the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, and the victim will make the final determination as to whether any criminal charges will be filed now or in the future, which we will address in a minute. With regards to disciplinary actions, the town government does not have jurisdiction over the Greece School District with regard to any resulting discipline, and those determinations rest solely with the district and the school board. I also want to take this opportunity to commend Karen Klein for her strength and courage in having to endure such treatment. Her response to their bullying is an example of the type of people which make our community great. The outpouring of care and concern that she has received from our community towards her is indicative of the depth and breadth of this great town, not the actions of those aboard Bus 784. Good afternoon. I am deeply saddened and embarrassed by the actions demonstrated recently by some of my students. I am sorry Karen has been subjected to this kind of student behavior. I am working with Captain Chatterton and an investigator from the Greece Police Department, as well as our head of security at the Athena campus and district leadership to investigate this matter and to determine each student's specific role. Disciplinary actions to the fullest extent will be taken against all those involved. Having been born and raised in Greece, a graduate of Greece Athena, and now the principal at Athena Middle School, I, alongside my colleagues, are driven to educate and support our students. I am working to ensure that my students are successful, have the appropriate study habits and skills, and are respectful, responsible, and productive both in the classroom and in the greater community. At this time, I ask for your support and understanding that we are doing everything we can to understand the events that occurred and that the district is working to address this issue with all staff to make sure an incident like this does not happen again. Thank you, and at this time I'll turn it over to Captain Chatterton.
Good afternoon. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Captain Steve Chatterton with the Greece Police Department. This afternoon I brought with me Sergeant Vogel, who has been assigned to the case, along with Lieutenant Henderson, who is the head of our criminal investigations division. I also brought Mike Agustinelli, who's the head of security at Athena. He's a retired police officer, and he assisted us in this investigation. I'm sure you'll have questions for me, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a brief overview of what the police department has done and where we're at this point, and then I'm going to turn it over to the school district, and I'll come back up for questions, and if you've got questions of the detectives, we'll be happy to answer them. We became aware of this yesterday morning, early in the morning, between 6 and 8 o'clock, somewhere around there, and we took immediate actions to contact the school and first verify the video and verify that we had Greece students involved. We immediately assigned a detective to the case, and the head of criminal investigations, Lieutenant Henderson, was also assigned to the case to make sure that the case was handled appropriately, because we realized what the video contained and how unique and unusual it was, and obviously we are upset by what we saw in the video, both as parents and police officers. We worked with the school district right away, and we were able to authenticate that the video were Greece students, and we were also able to verify that the Greece students all involved were 7th graders, which make them about 13 years old. We received a ton of community outpour and upset comments from people around the world, but I'd like to explain some of the difficulties that we encountered in the investigation. In New York State, in order to charge a 13-year-old in family court, you have to rise to the level of a crime, which means a misdemeanor or a felony. In New York State, harassment is actually a violation. So those were some of the things that we had to deal with, and we consulted heavily with the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, and us as a command staff struggled with. So we're still working on that as to whether this rose to the level of a crime, which would be a misdemeanor, or a felony, which we would need to charge the juveniles in family court. And that's where you would charge a juvenile. You would charge them in family court. I can tell you that we were able to identify all four individuals involved, and we have spoken to all 4 individuals and their families. Not only have we spoken with them, they've been cooperative, and they have come in voluntarily, have not requested counsel, and they've taken responsibilities for their actions. As one father put it, his son is sitting back waiting for his punishment. So no one has denied accountability, and they're taking responsibilities for their actions. We did talk to the victim this morning at length, and we explained her options, and we explained how the police department has handled the case. And as everybody in here knows, she's very likable. She's very, she's the type of woman you just want to give a hug to. But we were able to explain to her options. And one of the things in prosecution is the victim has to be able to make the decision as how they want to handle it. It's not a felony. The school district cannot press charges for the victim. She has to decide whether that case. At this point, within the last hour, she has decided she's very happy with the route the case is going through the school district. And at this time, I have to emphasize, at this time, she has decided she does not want to press criminal charges if they were able to be pressed. She's happy with the school district response, and we're leaving it open so that she can change she can change her mind at a later time. But again, at this time, she's decided she does not want to proceed with criminal charges against the 4 13-year-olds. She would actually like the school district to handle the punishment. Some of the other things that have come up that I want to address right away is why didn't the school bus driver address the situation? Through our investigation, we were able to reveal that this happened in the back of the bus on Monday afternoon. The most disturbing video happened on Monday afternoon in the back of the bus. I can personally say I witnessed an exchange between the bus driver and Karen when she walked into our first meeting on yesterday morning at 9 o'clock when she had not seen the video. I saw the bus driver look at her and explain that he was sorry, that he didn't know what occurred, and I saw the exchange that occurred between them that appeared very genuine, that there was no way the bus driver saw this conduct going on, and there were some comments made that, that Karen made that she should have said more. So while, some of the blame is being passed on to the school bus driver, I don't see that as a police captain. I'm going to end it there, and I'm going to turn it over to the school spokesman. I'll take questions after that.
Thank you for coming today. We are pleased to be able to provide you with an update, but first let me say that we have been touched by the outpouring of support for Karen, and we share the country's outrage over the behavior displayed on the videos. We are deeply sorry that Karen was subjected to this kind of treatment. Based on our internal investigation and the interviews conducted by members of the Greece Police Department, we have identified 4 Athena Middle School students as participants in this incident. Certainly, the behavior of the students on the video is a clear violation of our district's code of conduct and will not be tolerated. Disciplinary action to the fullest extent appropriate under New York education law will be taken against all involved. However, as we have stated yesterday, it is not appropriate for the district to discuss the specific disciplinary consequences that will result for any individual student. I need to stress that we have a specific process that we must follow before imposing discipline on students. Discipline for public school students in New York State is handled under specific procedures set forth in the New York State education law. In the event that a district is seeking a suspension of more than 5 days, the district must prove the student's violation of this code in conduct in a due process hearing before a hearing officer. If the student is found guilty, the hearing officer makes a recommendation for an appropriate period of suspension to the superintendent of schools. Each case is determined based upon the actions engaged in by the student as well as consideration of a student's prior disciplinary record. As is shown by the unfortunate incident, bullying is not a new issue to those who work in schools. The Greece Central School District has a strong bullying prevention model that includes a district response team, training program for staff and students, including the Ovalis Bullying Program, positive behavioral intervention and supports, and a bullying reporting process. In March, we also hired a special counselor to train all staff in bullying models. In fact, she is holding a previously scheduled training for administrators as we speak. The behaviors displayed on this video are not representative of all Greece Central students, and this is certainly not what we would like our students to be known for. We have worked very hard to educate students on the damaging impact of bullying and will continue to do so. We have received thousands of phone calls and emails from people throughout the country waiting to convey their thoughts. People are outraged by what has happened, and they feel the students should be punished. While we agree that discipline is warranted, we cannot condone the kind of vigilante justice some people are calling for. This is just another form of bullying and cannot be tolerated. We all need to take a step back and look at how we treat each other. It is our job as educators and parents to teach children and lead by example. We encourage parents to use this as a springboard to begin a dialogue with their children about bullying, respect, and consequences. As a school community, we will continue to take the lead in bullying education, and we encourage all students and employees subjected to bullying and harassment to report it as soon as it occurs and to take a stand if they are witness to bullying in their lives. Thank you.
Everyone's going to take questions now. I'm not sure what kind of fashion you want to do that, but whoever would like to start, and we'll try to determine who the appropriate person is to respond to your inquiries. Amanda.
On the video, we heard some of the students making comments about stabbing Karen or cutting her.
Yep, that's a great question. And what I want to enter, one of the things in the law is how the victim feels, how the victim interprets threats. And Karen didn't hear a lot of the threats. And we talked to her at length about that. The detectives talked to her at length about that. And we went into hypothetical situations, just how would you have felt if you did hear it? And she went as far as saying she would not have felt threatened. And she understands, that the bullying went too far, but a lot of criminal prosecution relates to how she feels and how she interprets the threats. And when your victim's telling you that she did not feel threatened, well, we, also picked up on that and thought we might be able to move that to the level of a misdemeanor. Based on her statement, we were not able to do that. And while I come back up here, I did leave out one other thing. We made it very clear to Karen that we were there for her. Our ultimate goal was to work for her and to bring this to a successful conclusion. And she understands that. And we explained to her, we are not going to stop with our investigation. We are going to continue, and we are going to see if it does rise to the level of a crime. And we do plan on consulting with the district attorney's office just in case she changes her mind. Just because she told us at this time she does not want to press charges, that doesn't mean at a later time she cannot. But some of the things that went into her decision are the treatment that the four kids have received. And when I say that, when someone watches the video, there's not going to be a whole lot of remorse for the children. Then people aren't going to feel real sorry for them. But they've received death threats. We've received 911 calls to their home saying that somebody was holding them hostage. That's not funny. That's a crime. That's a form of bullying, and that makes everyone doing it no better than the four kids who did this. We're a town of 100,000 people. We're a 100-man police department, but now we have 4 addresses we have to go by on a continual basis to make sure that they're safe. They're 13 years old. Their families have been threatened. Their brothers and sisters have been threatened. We have custody of one of their cell phones, and he had over 1,000 missed calls and 1,000 text messages threatening him. I mean, he is 13 years old. So if I can't, relay anything else, that must stop. We'll handle the situation. The school district will handle the situation. But threats, to overcome threats, do us no good. And I want to get that out there.
Captain, at what point does this rise to a level of a crime? I know you're going to continue to monitor this in case Karen changes her mind, but at what point will we be looking at criminal charges here?
That's a decision. Once we have, we originally weren't going to announce that she decided no charges, but she's been talking to media outlets and she said different things on different outlets, and that's the decision she's given us at this time. But we still plan on, there's a bunch of different laws that may fit once we get all the statements taken, once we look at her statement, take a look at the video. But like I say, it's May. It's May, and we have to look at that. I mean, Lieutenant Henderson, you want to comment on that any further?
It may never rise to that level.
Right.
That's yet to be determined.
And as a police department, as a command staff, most of us have teenage children. Most of us were outraged by what we saw. So we feel everyone's pain. I've gotten emails from the United Kingdom, from all over the United States saying, prosecute them. I feel it. I feel it. But we have to follow the law. We can't tailor the law to meet this case because of public outrage. We have to follow the law. That's what we were sworn to do, and that's what we'll continue to do.
We were hearing that maybe one of the students, a father, is with the Greece Police Department. Is that true?
I knew that was going to come up. We have not publicly broadcast. One of the student's stepfather is a Greece police officer. And what I want to relay regarding that is he made us aware of it before he was one of the first people to make us aware of it yesterday morning. He contacted the operations captain. He brought his son in. His son took his stepson, I should say. He brought his stepson in. His stepson took full responsibility and is prepared to take his punishment, basically. That officer's on vacation. He's not involved in the investigation. He has no say as to what happens in the investigation. He understands that. And he actually made the comment, do not treat this investigation any differently than you would treat any other investigation. And not that we would have, but he's had no say in it, and it will not be treated any differently because his stepson is involved.
Captain, it sounds like under the law, whether it rises to a crime or not, does it really depend a lot on how the victim takes it?
It does. The victim has to feel threatened. That's what some of the laws say. The victim has to feel threatened. And while she was harassed, she stated that she did not feel threatened at any time. There's a lot of outcry saying, they made her cry. According to her statement, she did not cry. She was not crying. She was sweating. So, while we sympathize with her, while it's horrific, at this point she's decided no charges.
Is there any level of protection plan for the students, their families at home, at school?
Yeah, I mean, we've actually had to come up with that. All the patrols in the areas know where everybody lives, and we've been making drive-bys, and checking all the houses. We call them special attentions, and we have to take that seriously. I mean, today the Rochester Police Department received a call at one of their substations that the family was being held hostage at gunpoint. That's a serious call that takes away our resources from the rest of the town, and if we catch that person, we'll prosecute that person.
Captain, just to clarify, did all 4 students come forward, or did you have to seek some of them out?
That's a good question for Sergeant Vocal.
Well, they were contacted, and the students were contacted by the school district and did come to the school accompanied by their parents voluntarily. So we didn't have to go find them or seek them out. They just honored our request that they come in.
Okay, so none of them voluntarily.
Well, if I can interject, there was one student who initially came forward with their parent, came to the school yesterday morning. That student issued a full confession with their parent present, and information that student provided also helped us to determine other students who were involved in the situation. So once those students were identified, they all knowingly and willingly came forward and were interviewed with their parents present, correct?
That's correct.
Captain, you said that you had phone numbers from people that were making threats. Are you holding on to those? Are you going to prosecute anyone that's threatening these families?
We're looking into that. Yes, absolutely. We take anytime someone calls in that the family's being barricaded or being held hostage, and we have to respond to that. We're obviously looking into that.
Captain, Albany, the state legislature has made a big deal of anti-bullying legislation. Can you say whether or not anything out of Albany may also provide you with additional leverage in your investigation?
You know, we're looking at everything. We're looking at every available option, and that was one of the things we were looking at before we went the no prosecution route. We're still, you know, today originally I had planned on coming here telling you we're still investigating it, but with the new developments, I wanted to inform you of the way we were going. We have not finished our investigation. I can't emphasize that enough. We're not done. Just because she doesn't want to press charges, that does not change the way we document. It will be documented the exact same way. The investigation will be done the exact same way. Just in case she changes her mind at a later time, we don't want to look unprepared, so it'll be documented the exact same way.
I have a question for someone from the school district, if they can answer a couple questions.
Okay. We'll all come up, and whoever can answer will answer.
It appears there were several other videos, 2 other at least.
There's 3 total that we're aware of.
Right. When did you find out about all of them at the same time yesterday?
What happened was we were notified about the one main video. That's the one that's been most frequently played on TV. And then at that time we began Googling and searching for others, and we were able to find the 3 total, all posted by the same person. We're not quite sure who the poster was, but we knew about all 3 in the morning.
So you had no knowledge of the other 2 prior to...
Prior to learning of the first, we did not know there were others, no.
Laurel, the 4 students who were directly involved in the harassment,
yes,
they've all been pretty much, everybody knows who they are, but what about the other students on the bus who didn't do anything or may have witnessed this and decided they would rather be entertained by this as opposed to trying to do something? Any plans as far as what may happen with those?
What I can tell you is that Tuesday was our last day of school. It was a half day. So when we found out about this, school was already out of session. So you can imagine that it's difficult to speak to every child on the bus. Sure. Typically, if school were in session, we would get everybody that was on that bus to be interviewed by different people on staff and to find out what exactly every person that was on that bus knew and when they knew it. Basically, we weren't able to do that. I think that you might be able to speak to, as people came forward, if names were brought up as, oh, this person might have possibly heard something or this person might have possibly been involved, then we would call those students in. So at this point, it's only the students that we knew had knowledge or involvement that have been interviewed.
So as far as various levels of culpability when it comes to discipline, you've got 4 that probably are looking at the maximum. Lesser discipline for others who may have been able to stop this or at least do something.
I can't speak to that at this time because we're not sure how many people may have been aware of it. At this point, it's only the 4 students that were directly involved, and those are the students that we're looking at right now. I mean, I can tell you that Athena in all of our Greece schools has had a lot of training and focus on bullying prevention, and that is one of the features of the bullying prevention training that we work on every day, is not just being a passive observer to bullying, to try to stand up and say, hey, stop that, that's cruel, that's mean. You have to also understand that a bus is a very loud environment. So even though we think everybody may have heard what's going on, the bus seats are very high. It blocks a lot of the ability for people to hear sound. Bus road noise is louder than others. People that we've spoken to have even said, there were fans and other things going on the bus because of the heat at the time that made it harder to hear. So to the extent that other people on the bus may have heard what was going on, we can't really speak to that because we're not sure exactly what happened with all of the students on board.
The conversation has cropped up today with the question, why is a person who's hearing impaired, as Karen admits, a monitor, where you would think hearing would be a very important element of that job?
Right. I can tell you that, I mean, I can't speak to individuals, but I can tell you that all employees of the district that are in those types of positions have to be evaluated for certain criteria to do their jobs. So whether it's a physical criteria or, as you're saying, that type of a criteria, they have to be evaluated on a regular basis, and they have to pass certain checks that are administered by people outside of the district, impartial people. So.
Does Karen pass those checks?
Right. Like I said, I can't speak to individuals, but know that that's the process that's followed for all people that are employed in those types of jobs for the district.
And what will be the correct action for her to take? Did she take the correct action in this case?
Well, what I can tell you is that we do have processes in place for people to respond to this, to respond to these types of actions. I know I've talked to some people yesterday about it. In transportation, they have a transportation manual that lays out a variety of different things associated with their job responsibilities. Every year when they begin a new school year in September, there's trainings that people receive, and they get that manual. As part of that manual, it outlines the disciplinary process and the steps that people are supposed to take when these types of things happen. So there is a process in place. I know that Karen has since filed we call it a mishap report, but she's filed an incident report on this. That was received by us today. That's not something that we had prior to our knowledge of this incident.
And what will that report outline of the steps that she took?
It's basically like if you were in school and you received a referral from a teacher. It says, like, you know, the date, the time, people that are known to be involved, what happened, and it speaks to just a blow-by-blow of what occurred. It's a record-keeping type of thing. We receive them, you know, from buses throughout the school year, and also different but similar ones you would get in a classroom, say, if you acted out in a classroom.
And I'm sorry to keep pressing on this.
That's okay.
There's a process. From what you saw in the video, did she adhere to that process?
As far as the written reporting?
As far as how she reacted in the moment.
I mean, that's hard. That's hard for me to speak to because I'm not a transportation trainer, so I don't really have knowledge of exactly how they're trained.
And we're looking into that.
Yeah.
We're looking into if the process was being followed, and if it wasn't, why.
Right.
So that's part of the investigation. So.
To your knowledge, has Karen filed any other reports? I mean, kids can be obnoxious on a regular basis, but has there been anything to this level before?
What we did was, after yesterday, based on inquiries that we were receiving from the media, we went back to our transportation staff and we asked them, can you pull reports from buses? Because some folks had asked us, has this type of thing happened before? Have other people experienced the same type of treatment on buses? So, not to our knowledge, but we wanted to be sure, has this happened? So we asked them to pull the incident reports from all the buses in the district because, as was stated, we have about 12,000 students, and there's a host of bus runs that occur throughout the day. What I've learned is they're still pulling all of those reports. That we have had, of course, over 50 incident reports filed this year district-wide. Those reports range from, anything from just name calling or swearing to, their physical altercations occur between students that sometimes monitors or drivers have to intervene in. So it sort of runs the gamut. As far as this specific bus, we were not able to locate any incident reports associated with the students involved in this case. That's not to say that there's never been an incident on this bus throughout the course of the school year, but as far as any previous incidents, we weren't able to locate any.
Your code of conduct talks about cursing and what's inappropriate
Correct.
behavior on school property with children. It's clear these kids violated the code of conduct. You mentioned that. You won't spell out the policy about what the disciplinary action will be. Will parents be involved in some way? Will they be going to some kind of course, bullying course? Will the parents be involved to be held accountable for this as well?
That's going to be determined. We going to follow the process, and as this unfolds and the consequences are determined, we will be looking into all of that. But we'll be working very closely with attorneys as this develops.
Is there a route the school could take where it could hold parents accountable?
We'll be working with our attorneys as far as that goes.
Is the student who recorded the videos having any kind of repercussion, or is that not being deemed something that was wrong
That's being looked into. Each case will be different. We'll be looking into each disciplinary action individually with each student, and it might vary depending on the part that they played, if you will, and what they did. But as I mentioned, with something like this or with any type of disciplinary action, we work very close with the attorneys.
So the 4 kids that we're talking about right now were the ones that were yelling, not the ones videotaping.
I can talk a little bit about that. The 4 students that we are investigating includes the student who was videotaping the incident. Part of the issue with the investigation and the length of the investigation requires us to determine the actual role each and every student played. In fact, one of the students that was initially identified was not involved in this incident at all. And that student, like Officer Chatterton has stated, is going through a lot and was not even on the bus and doesn't even ride that bus. But was misappropriately identified and associated with this terrible situation, and is now subjected to a lot of ridicule. But yes, one of the students identified was also the student who videoed this incident.
I'm just going to end it on this real quick. The school district obviously is very limited on what they can say because you're involving 13-year-olds and it's student policy. But I can tell you as a police captain, I sat in on the meetings, and as a parent, as a captain, I think my lieutenant would say the same thing. We're very satisfied with the action the schools have taken. We're very impressed with, the director of security, Ed Knack, and his staff, Mike Augustinelli, the way they've taken the interviews and helped us with the interviews, helped us locate the kids. And, the punishment that we've heard, we're satisfied with. Whether that's a final outcome or not, I don't know. But I can speak for myself sitting in on those. It's not being taken lightly, and the school district's taking it very seriously. And I think we're going to end it on that. All right? Thank you.
And there you heard it. Officials out in Greece, New York, addressing the latest developments in a case that millions of people all across the country are talking about. That bus monitor that was bullied, and it was taped and put on YouTube. School officials said that there will be disciplinary action taken. According to police, it was 4 13-year-olds. They're in 7th grade, and police also saying that the victim here, Karen Klein, right now does not want to press criminal charges. She told police that she's happy with what the school district is doing and how they're handling this case right now. We will have much more on this developing news on our website, cnycentral.com, and, of course, on our news tonight starting at 5 p.m. I'm Lisa Spitz. That wraps up this special report right now.